Oh, Nominal Dingus has another allegation that's probably going to end up in nothing. Let's go look and see what it says. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but there's this constant cycle of Nominal Dingus and his allegations, in which either the allegations are pretty much nothing, in which it's like, oh, well, this can be easily fixed by you talking out and you expressing certain things, or like he becomes a de facto victim in every single situation. But this one is so obviously fake, but people eat it up. Let's go and actually look at the document. Now, with the screenshots, we will skip over them and then come back to them, okay? The reason is because the Discord screenshots do not have any ID tags. With Nominal Dingus, it would be very easy to get an ID tag for him. Because if you don't know, you can get the ID tags for anybody's Discord or anything. Just if you talk to them, or even if you go into the server and get it, you're able to get that. There was nothing there was no matching that up. On top of that, later on, the screenshots get really low quality, which is an implication that they have been edited. On top of that, blocking words, I think that this is being cut out of context so that it makes him look worse. There's not really a reason to block out words besides you're trying to cover up something. But let's read it, shall we, right? Hypnosis incident, sexual assault and exploitation. Nominal Dingus used somebody's hypnosis to make them show their genitalia. Nominal had at one stage joined a friend group of a mod he was working on. Within that friend group, there was a very sweet, trauma-ridden person. Nominal had gotten close with this person by surprisingly not being an asshole for once. Okay, if you're doing this in a doc, more than likely, you're just doing this to be vindictive, but we won't go and talk about your language. It was fine at first, but the person Nominal was talking to has been hypnotized in order to prevent them from harming themselves or to do specific things to keep them healthy. Using their hypnosis word, Nominal Dingus repeatedly utilized it for sexual purposes and even attempt to undo the mentioned hypnosis that was just put in place to prevent the person from killing themselves. For those who don't know, that is not how hypnosis works. Hypnosis is also a pseudoscience for those who don't know. It is very widely contested, which means there's no actual scientific evidence that it's this real thing. This person is using movie-grade logic to go and say this person did X thing and taking screenshots. We don't even need to read the screenshots. You can if you want to. I will put the document in the link below. Fortunately, my channel isn't 2 months old, so it won't be effective. So if you're on PC, you can like Control C it. For mobile, you're screwed. But you can search this document up. Note aside, from the fact that they straight up used hypnosis non-consensually in order to get with the person to show their genitalia, I was also informed by the victim that it took them so long to actually show their genitalia because they were actively resisting the hypnosis and were most likely drunk during the event. Once again, that's not how hypnosis works. So that is just a straight up lie. So the only way for this to happen is if a person regretted this or is trying to be malicious with this, in which this is fake. Hypnosis is not this thing in where you just say a word and somebody goes and starts forming out the mouth resisting. This isn't an anime. That's not how hypnosis works. Hypnosis only works if you actually want it to work. There's many different things. So there's actually a great thing about this where a person does hypnosis techniques to make a person weaker, but if a person even does a slight bit of resistance, it drops to 0% effectiveness. It also isn't done by a trigger word or anything like that. A lot of hypnosis and a lot of the actual true hypnosis stuff is psychological, or psychology. It's not like I'm going to use a magic word on you. That isn't based in any actual reality or any actual science. And yet people just eat this up and said, oh, well, Nominal Dingus is guilty. How? How dumb do you have to be? Apparently, Nominal Dingus also made a doc, so if anybody has that, give it to me so I can criticize that as well if it's absolute ass. But how this is actually worded means that this person is just straight up lying in this doc and making up situations. Before we move on, I want to actually go and explain how hypnosis works. So specifically, they're talking about a hypnosis like trigger word. Now, this trigger word is not actually something that is like I say it and then you do something for me and you go and do all this stuff. That's only in the movies. With hypnosis trigger words, not only does the person have to be willing, they have to go through rigorous amounts of like conditioning for that trigger word to actually get a response. And specifically, this is done with a psychologist or somebody that has a little bit of a background for this to use other actual real techniques that can be studied. With hypnosis, usually it's done to go and enhance the experience to bring out past memories. So if the person finds out there's a weirdly emotional connection to chocolate, then that word will be able to bring out certain things. So when the person says, I want you to think about chocolate, and what does that make you think about? It makes me think about my father. Or it can be used in many other scenarios, but that's how it is supposed to be. It's supposed to bring out the subconscious in which you're not actively thinking about it. It is not a way to go and try to manipulate a person like the screenshots in which one of them shows him trying to use them to like show your genitalia. If this person actually had a hypnosis word and they were saying that was stopping them from killing themselves, or this made me do X action, that was nothing but a placebo, and all that was this person's actions. The victim actively did it out of their own volition, because both for the hypnosis and everything, you have to actively allow yourself to do that. So this is where the doc started to actually piss me off, because it's one thing to go and have like a baseless claim. It's another thing to basically go and try to double down on it, trying to say that somebody has amnesia. And what's odd is that you have this, and which is pretty clear quality, and this is pretty clear quality. We scroll down, this is absolute dog water quality. This doc claims that then he harassed this person, which if you actually read it, there's nothing of harassment in here. They also tried to say that he had an outburst. And if you actually read it, the only person that had an outburst was said victim. If you actually read it, like maybe you can say that the accusation of causing the amnesia is kind of whatever, but he asks a question of like, did somebody else cause this to you? Then it gets explained. The only person that acts combatant in here is the quote unquote victim, which is 100% a fake victim with the hypnosis. Something to also know with these are extremely low quality screenshots, and I'm just going to show something right here. So this is a screenshot I took, and even if I zoom in like this, it's still not anywhere near that low of the quality. Even at this is nowhere near the thing, and this is in 2025, which is very recently. So if you're giving me this is 100% edited, especially if you look at this editing right here. This is weirdly smooth. This is not the same quality as this. Finally, the doc claimed that he spouted all this stuff. I don't know. You would think that if the person actually had something, that they would contact the other people and say like, hey, was this true? I'm not here to say anything, but considering that the first part of the doc is a straight up like lie, even if like it is true, that's not how hypnosis works. So there's no sexual assault here, and then they're misusing the term of harassment because there's no harassment here. You can say like, oh well, he was weird, and then that was pretty much it. And it's a level of weird that you would find from like a cringy 14-year-old or a man that doesn't know how to ask out a girl. It's a level of weird that is overblown here, that it doesn't make any sense. You would have to go on a weirdness of like 3 or 4 maybe, or even not even 4. It's like 3 is the max, and then try to say that it's a 9 where it verges into illegality. The problem is that there is no illegality. There was no harassment as far as what is shown. The person left eventually, asked questions in which the person willingly answered, by the way, and that was pretty much it. The last part of the doc basically concludes with trying to recirculate this information again, but this is just whatever, right? It tries to say that it's a crime when it's not, and then they bring in just random ass screenshots, which pretty much mean jack shit. They also try to say that, oh, you be careful what you are going to do because someone is going to dox you, which I don't know why you're saying that. With that being said, I think that kind of proves like this doc is just here to be malicious, and it's not actually like something that is genuine. This is not a doc that should have been taken seriously in the slightest. This doc by itself has so many things wrong with it, from factually wrong information to just describing things so poorly in which the evidence that they give literally contradicts it. I would love for this doc to be true, not in a way of like, I want it to be true to get Nominal Dingus, but to actually treat this accusation seriously than just this. This is handled so poorly to where I can only assume this is done to be malicious. And with that being said, my name is TRG. I'm a guy that plays and talks about games. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because Nominal Dingus was making a mod for a game and I was looking forward to it. He's a very good song maker. But this basically ruined his career with what I can only assume false allegations or extremely manipulative things in which they are not accurate in the slightest. Like I said, I know that Nominal Dingus gave a response to it. Unfortunately, I did not get it, so please tell me if you have it archived. With that being said, don't believe shit like this. Deuces.